Hello, I'm David Hughes. Welcome to Your Perfect Body, the podcast of the Esoteric Teaching community. Today's selection is an essay entitled, What is the Esoteric Teaching? Part 2. The esoteric teaching is not something new. Indeed, it is most ancient. The esoteric teaching is simply a convenient name in contemporary language. The same subject has been expressed in different places and at different times in history under various esoteric terms. The Vedas, sanatana-dharma, the Word, logos, the Way, Tao, the Absolute Truth, satyam, param, the sacred river, Ganga, heaven, Svarga, the land of no anxiety, Vaikuntha, the forest of devotion, Vrindavan, the ocean of nectar, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, illumination, Nirvana, liberation, Moksha, the life, the path, the gate, the stairway to the stars, the kingdom of God, etc. Each of these expressions began as a name for an esoteric school of the complete esoteric teaching, but over time, the meaning of these coded expressions of the eternal teaching were gradually altered by human meddling and incompetence, and lost their transcendental potency. Therefore, we begin again in the present time to explain the timeless esoteric teaching in contemporary language. In and of itself, the esoteric teaching has no name. It is not really a thing or a place in the ordinary sense, but a transcendental ontological process of transforming consciousness. Technically, or philosophically speaking, it does not exist because it is beyond manifested time and space. The esoteric teaching is self-referential. It exists only unto itself, outside of all dimensions and universes, yet connecting them all together, giving them meaning and purpose. The teaching is complete, absolute, self-revealing, and self-referential. Even though infinite time, space, energy, and meaning emanate from it, it remains undiminished. It is accessible only to those esoteric students who have the determination to pass its tests, the integrity to win the secret keys to its invisible gates, and the humility to dedicate their lives to learning the arcane methods of its mysterious, all-powerful spiritual technology. Yet, many otherwise intelligent people deny the existence of the esoteric teaching simply because it cannot be perceived with the material senses, measured with scientific instruments, or mapped out on a piece of paper. This is their great and tragic misfortune. Recently, physicists have determined that at least 10 spatial dimensions are required to model the quantum interactions of subatomic particles. Just because we cannot see or directly measure these dimensions does not mean that we deny the conclusions of modern physics. Similarly, just because we cannot see or measure the esoteric teaching, there is no reason to deny its existence, because it exists in a different dimension from our physical universe. In our universe, there are 3 dimensions of space: length, width, and height. There are also 3 dimensions of time: past, present, and future. Beyond the boundary of time lies eternity, which, according to the esoteric teaching, also consists of 3 dimensions: internal, marginal, and external. Beyond eternity is the esoteric teaching. Consequently, the esoteric teaching can never be perceived or measured by physical means, Nevertheless, it is accessible from anywhere by the esoteric student who possesses the secret keys to its higher dimensional gates. The purpose of this teaching is to empower the student to understand and use these mystic keys to pass through the mystical gates of the esoteric teaching and satisfy their heart's deepest desire by drinking their fill at the eternal, exhaustible fountain of absolute truth. Because ordinary words or symbols cannot actually contain or describe the esoteric teaching, it is easier to describe what the esoteric teaching is not. The esoteric teaching is not ordinary truth. It is fundamentally different from ordinary truth. Ordinary relative truth is true only for a limited time, person, or set of circumstances. But the esoteric teaching is unconditionally true for all time, all beings, and all circumstances. The esoteric teaching has been true for all eternity, even before the creation of this material universe, and it will remain true for all eternity after this material universe has passed away. This esoteric teaching is a unique class of truth, absolute truth. The esoteric teaching is not in the self-serving speculations of professional philosophers and theologians. It is not in the screaming news headlines or the lurid fabrications of the tabloids. It is not in the conceited inventions of academic scholars and scientists, nor in the pompous pronouncements of professional politicians and priests. It is not available from the commercialized schools of bogus yoga or the phony tantra swingers clubs. The esoteric teaching is not accessible to the proud, the learned sophists, the lusty, or those attached to money, power, and possessions. It hides from those seeking reputation, fame, and prestige. The absolute truth is modest and shy. It flees from passion, pretentiousness, ambition, and desire. The esoteric teaching cannot be known by the senses or by mind polluted by material desire. Only purified intelligence, without any tinge of material desire, can begin to approach the absolute truth. And only the pure soul in the ecstasy of divine love of God can fully realize the absolute truth and experience the esoteric teaching. This most esoteric teaching is the core of mysticism and the gateway to spiritual liberation. The experience of the esoteric teaching is eternal. It has no beginning or end, for it is the experience of the eternal ecstatic relationship between the soul and God. This experience takes place not in the limited linear sequential time dimension of this relative material universe, but in the transcendental domain of eternity. Realizing the esoteric teaching means the direct personal experience of absolute truth, the essence of all that is. Only one who has perfectly realized the transcendental nature of the soul and God, and has tasted the ecstasy of divine love, can realize the esoteric teaching. For the esoteric teaching is not a thing, nor is it information, but a state of being and an experience of the pure soul beyond the bodily senses and mind. The esoteric teaching exists outside the world of phenomena. This manifested world is limited, temporary, conditional, and changeable. The esoteric teaching is neither temporary nor changeable, but is unlimited, unconditional, eternal, and unchanging. Words and ideas also cannot contain the esoteric teaching because they are merely symbols. Symbols are abstractions, shadows of the actual truth, and the esoteric teaching is ultimate absolute reality and truth. If neither the finite and unbounded phenomenal universe nor the bounded but infinite world of ideas and symbols can contain the esoteric teaching, where is there space enough to hold it? Within the core of everyone's heart lives the soul, a spiritual particle of pure consciousness and being. And in the core of the soul lives the radiant esoteric teaching, eternal, unlimited, and just. This absolute truth is the source of all life and consciousness. If you are alive and aware,